Friends constantly one-up us financially. How do I shut this down without ending the friendship? My husband and I have been close friends with a married couple since school. We've shared 22 years of memories together, and they truly are our best friends. But since becoming parents to our toddlers, the dynamic has shifted, and it feels like we're caught in a financial competition. The husband earns a significant income, while his wife is currently not working. They seem obsessed with being frugal and always having a one-up on us. If we mention a holiday, they've done it cheaper. If we buy something, they'll share how they found a better deal. At Christmas, we gifted our son a Tony box, and they felt the need to explain why their daughter's Yodo Mini was superior. It's disheartening. The husband even talks about retiring in a few years, which feels unnecessary when we know we'll be working hard for a long time. We live modestly, with a small house and second-hand cars, but their comments leave me feeling judged, even if they don't mean to be unkind. I'm seeking advice on how to respond in the moment when the one-upping happens. Should I address this directly, or would that create awkwardness? I want to mentally disengage so it doesn't bother me anymore. I truly value our friendship and don't want to end it. I just want to stop feeling deflated after spending time together.
I've looked at a lot of Hinge profiles and noticed the same few issues over and over. As a guy in my late 20s, living in a large city in Canada, I've spent a lot of time on Hinge. I've also gone through countless profiles of friends who were feeling stuck in their dating lives. What I've discovered is that the problem isn't usually a lack of effort. Instead, many people are optimizing for the wrong things without even realizing it. Most profiles aim to describe the person accurately, but often they come off as abstract. For instance, I see statements like, "The hallmark of a good relationship is communication, trust, and honesty." While this sounds mature, it doesn't convey what interacting with that person would actually feel like. A small shift can make a big difference. Instead of listing values, turning them into behaviors can create a clearer picture. For example, saying, "I'm pretty direct. If something's off, I'll say it, and I appreciate the same energy back," paints a vivid dynamic. Another common line is, "The one thing you should know about me is I'm ambitious and hardworking." While this signals stability, ambition is often assumed on Hinge. A more relatable version could be, "I'm the type who plans things properly, then immediately accepts that the plan will probably change." This implies ambition and flexibility without stating it outright. And people respond to that. Humor is another tricky area. A line like, "Typical Sunday, gym, groceries, existential dread," might feel funny to the writer, but it doesn't invite engagement. We adjusted it to, "Typical Sunday is gym, groceries, then convincing myself I deserve a coffee I didn't plan for." This invites a connection and encourages longer replies. One thing people often overlook is how much order matters in a profile. Many lead with their safest prompt, but the first prompt sets the tone for everything that follows. If it's vague or jokey, the rest of the profile gets interpreted through that lens. The structure that works best usually looks like this. First, answer the question, "What is this person like to date?" in a clear, grounded way. Next, add a preference or quirk that makes the right person lean in and the wrong person lean out. Finally, make conversation easy with a humorous prompt that invites effortless replies. Photos should follow the same principle. Start with one clear anchor photo where your face is relaxed and visible. Then, include a context photo that shows your lifestyle and one that adds social credibility. Everything else is optional. Sometimes, removing a single photo that doesn't fit the story can make a big difference. I've also noticed that people often soften themselves to avoid turning anyone off. Preferences get watered down and edges disappear. Interestingly, when someone adds one clear, grounding line that filters, they might see a slight dip in matches, but conversations become easier and dates happen faster. The right people recognize themselves in it. Most people don't struggle on Hinge because they're boring or awkward. They struggle because their profiles are optimized to be understood rather than felt. They explain who they are instead of letting someone imagine what being with them would be like. If you shine in person, but your profile doesn't reflect that, it's often not you. It's the translation.
After 6 hours of clubbing, I talked to exactly 0 women. I don't know what to do anymore to learn how to connect with women. I'm feeling so disappointed in myself. I've been hyping myself up all December, telling myself 2025 will be different, and this year it changes. I thought starting small would help, so for this New Year's party, I promised myself I'd talk to at least 3 girls I didn't know. Just a simple compliment would be a victory, a step in the right direction, but I still couldn't do it. I'll be honest, I cried when I went to bed. I feel let down by myself. I'm 27 and still a virgin, never been in a relationship, and never even been kissed. It's no surprise I can't talk to women. I remember at least 10 people whose outfits I could have complimented. A nice necklace, or I love your outfit. I could have joked about the silly glasses or asked what they were drinking. Simple things that wouldn't have been received negatively. Yet I couldn't muster the courage. I know they're just normal people, with the same fears and insecurities as me. If they didn't want to talk, they'd show it. Rationally, I understand that, but when the moment comes, I freeze. I thought maybe it was because I don't drink, so I tried that and hated it. I thought going out with friends would help, but I went alone, hoping boredom would push me to talk. I even bought a suit, thinking it would boost my confidence. Nothing worked. I spent the night feeling out of place in a nice suit, trying to gather my nerves, but I kept failing. I tried using the 10-10-10 rule, reminding myself that in 10 months, none of this would matter, but I still couldn't bring myself to approach anyone. At one point, I met an acquaintance who introduced me to 4 friends, 3 women and 1 man. I thought, this is it, and lowered my expectations. Just a conversation with any of them would have made me feel better. But even with them, I couldn't hold a conversation for more than 3 sentences. Please help me. I'm 27, and I feel like I should have figured this out by now. How can I dream of being a father if I can't even meet new people, let alone find the future mother of my children?
Final update. My boyfriend's new tattoo makes me feel like a pedophile. I wasn't going to share an update, but after all the love and support I received, I felt compelled to provide some closure. Thank you to everyone who offered advice. I didn't respond to everyone, but I read almost every message. I stopped checking my private messages as many were graphic and negative, but I appreciated the few that were positive and helpful. Now, on to the update. It's been a whirlwind week since our argument. My boyfriend spent 2 nights at his sister's place, and during that time, I decided to send him links to my Reddit posts instead of writing a letter. I felt everything I needed to say was in those threads, and it might help him to see others' opinions. His sister read through them too, which sparked a massive argument between them, revealing some shocking truths. When he returned home, he broke down completely. We spent the night talking, and he opened up about using drugs and drinking more to cope with his grief. He shared that he feels responsible for his brother's death. While I was pushing for custody, he was hesitant, and now he believes his brother might still be alive if we had acted sooner. This guilt has led to feelings of resentment towards me, which he knows isn't fair, but has been hard for him to process. I always knew he was struggling with his brother's death, but I didn't realize how deeply it affected him until he told me. Unfortunately, some of you were right. He regrets the tattoo. Discovering that I wasn't happy with it sent him into a panic. The thought of regretting it only added to his guilt. He hates the tattoo and tries to avoid looking at it. He apologized repeatedly for how he reacted and for not considering how it affected me. I also apologized for my comment that hurt him. Initially, he was taken aback, but after reading my post, he understood my intent and forgave me. He also apologized for accusing me of not caring about his brother. We discussed the argument he had with his sister. I had thought he went alone to get the tattoo, but it turns out she was with him and convinced him to get a portrait on his chest. He originally wanted a drawing of his brother's favorite stuffed animal. During their argument, it came out that she wanted him to get a drastic tattoo to create a rift between us. She felt I was tearing their family apart by pushing for custody and didn't want him dating me anymore. While I don't condone her actions, I understand that mental illness runs in their family. We suspect she may have bipolar disorder, but she refuses to seek help. My boyfriend clarified to our friends that he didn't share the tattoo story with them. It was his sister who lied. He promised to correct the narrative with any family member she mentions it to. We both apologize for what we said in anger, and we're committed to working through this together. In the short term, we're reaching out to a grief counselor and exploring ways to make things less awkward in our intimate life. Long term, we plan to consult a tattoo artist about options for removing or transforming the tattoo. He's hesitant about removing it completely and is considering getting more tattoos to make it less noticeable, which I support. As for his sister, he's contemplating whether to cut her out of his life. I believe he's lost enough family, but I'll respect whatever decision he makes. That about wraps everything up. Thank you again to everyone for your advice and support. It truly helped me navigate this difficult situation. I sincerely hope I won't need to post here again. Boyfriend 24M doesn't want me, 22F, to attend medical school right now. Nothing I say will make him change his mind. I recently received my acceptance letter, and I was over the moon. But instead of celebrating, I found myself in a whirlwind of conflict with my boyfriend of over 2 years. We just moved in together, and I understand that this change is hard for him. I relocated across states to be with him, and now, just months later, I'm facing the possibility of leaving again for medical school. He wants me to hold off for a year, to apply only to schools in our state, but that would mean starting the entire process over, more competitive exams, new recommendation letters, and more clinical hours. I've heard too many stories of people who waited and ended up without any acceptances. It breaks my heart that I can't even enjoy this moment. He keeps bringing up how we won't work out if I go, claiming I'll be too busy and that I'll prioritize my family over him during breaks. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, something I've dreamed of since childhood. I've poured my heart and soul into this journey, yet here I am, hesitating. 3 years ago, I would have jumped at this chance without a second thought. Now I feel torn. He knows how much I've wanted this, how hard I've worked for it, and yet he's asking me to do it all again. It feels like we're on completely different pages, and I'm left questioning what to do next. Update. My best friend wants me to work with my rapist on her wedding. First of all, thank you so much for the support on my first post. I didn't expect it to gain that much attention. A lot has happened since then, and I feel like this could change my life for the better. I want to clarify a few things about my experience. Yes, I was under the influence, but I remember clearly saying no. I was drunk, but I didn't black out. The force he used didn't seem like that of someone who was drunk. I remember trying to lift myself off the bed, and he pushed me back down. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I never reported it because I saw how it affected other girls I knew. They reported their experiences, and nothing came of it. It made them feel worse. I was scared of what Rod would do if he found out I had reported him. Reading your comments made me realize how inconsiderate Tuna was being. I couldn't be around someone who would do that to me. Some suggested exposing him during the vows, but that's not who I am. Instead, I sent Tina a text saying, "I can't be your maid of honor anymore. It's hurtful that you want me to pack up my trauma until your wedding day. I just can't do it." An hour later, I got a call from Josh, Tina's fiancé. He asked what was going on, and I snapped, saying, "I don't know. What's going on with you making someone who raped me best man?" I don't usually speak like that, but I was overwhelmed. Josh came over without Tina, and we talked for over an hour. He thought I wasn't coming to the wedding because I had a crush on Rod, but I had to tell him the truth. I shared that Rod had raped me in high school, and that Tina knew about it. Josh was shocked. He had heard Rod's side of the story, where Rod claimed that a few crazy girls had falsely accused him. To my surprise, Josh opened up about his own experience of being raped as a child. He said he would never work with someone like that at a wedding. He apologized on Tina's behalf, but I told him I wouldn't forgive her unless she apologized herself. I could see the weight of the realization on Josh's face, and it felt like we were both dealing with betrayal. After he left, I braced myself for an angry text from Tina. And sure enough, it came at midnight. She accused me of trying to destroy their marriage. I pressed the block button and went to bed. I'm feeling a bit down, but also relieved. I want to connect with other friends and move on. If I'm brave enough, I might try to reach out to others who have been hurt by Rod. Knowing there are other victims makes me feel guilty, but I know I made the right choice. Thank you, Reddit.
AITA for not letting my best friend take advantage of me? This is a throwaway account. My best friend Diane and I have known each other since elementary school. Diane is dating Roy, who has 2 teenagers that stay with him half the time. I refer to them as Diane's stepkids. Now, let me share the issue that's been weighing on me. I'm getting married in 6 months, and my fiancé lives in another state. I own a condo fully paid off, and I plan to keep it for when I return for work meetings and family visits. My fiancé also has family here, so we expect to be back every other month. Diane agreed to hold an emergency key for me, in case maintenance needs access to my condo. I thought everything was settled until 2 weeks ago when we met for lunch. Diane had a proposal. Her stepson goes to college near my condo, and she suggested he could condo sit for me. She said it would be great because I wouldn't have to worry about the place when I'm gone. He would pay a small stipend to cover any wear and tear, and he would stay with his father whenever I was in town. In that moment, I imagined all the liabilities of having a college kid living unsupervised in my home. The thought of coming home to a mess, dealing with complaints from neighbors, and worrying about my belongings just didn't sit right with me. I thanked Diane for the idea, but told her I didn't want anyone living in my condo. I wanted the freedom to come and go without any concerns. She kept pushing, explaining why it was a great idea, while I continued to say no and share my reasons. Finally, she asked if I could at least think about it overnight, appealing to our friendship. I explained that she was essentially asking me to take on a tenant with all the financial and legal responsibilities that come with it. If she believed this was a good idea, I told her she and Roy would need to sign a contract making them responsible for any liabilities. She questioned why she had to be on the contract, and I said I was only asking what she was asking of me. She fell quiet, and I told her to think it over. Later, Roy called and said he was willing to sign the contract. I explained that Diane needed to sign it too, since she was the reason I was even considering it. He mentioned that Diane had come to him with the idea and wouldn't have pursued it if he knew the full story. It was a pleasant conversation, but the next day, Diane called me, upset that I had embarrassed her in front of Roy. I told her that if she had respected my decision, we wouldn't be in this situation. So, AITA for how I handled this? To clarify, I hadn't given her the key yet. I planned to do that closer to my move, but now I don't intend to give it to her at all. AITA for testifying against my brother in a custody case after he abandoned his child? I'm a 25-year-old woman and my older brother is 28. Growing up, my mom spoiled him and still makes excuses for his behavior because he's her son. This situation has completely fractured our family, and now I'm being told I'm a terrible sister. My brother was in a long-term relationship with his ex-girlfriend, Lena, who is now 27. They have a son together who is 5. Lena and I became very close during their relationship, and even after they broke up, I stayed involved in my nephew's life. I babysit, help with schoolwork, and I'm one of his safe adults. When my nephew was around 2, my brother left, not just emotionally, but he abandoned them entirely. He moved out, stopped helping financially, barely called, and eventually cut contact after getting involved with someone new. Lena struggled a lot during that time, but she stepped up and did everything for their child on her own. My brother never paid consistent child support and would disappear for months. Fast forward to last year. My brother suddenly reappeared, claiming he missed his son and wanted to be involved again. However, his first move wasn't to apologize or ease back in. He demanded Lena's current address and threatened legal action. Lena had moved for safety and stability and didn't want him showing up unannounced, so she asked me not to give it out. When my brother asked me for her address, I refused. I told him that if he wanted to see his son, he needed to go through proper legal channels and rebuild trust. He accused me of choosing his ex over him and said I was betraying family. Eventually, he found her address on his own and filed for custody, asking for far more than he'd ever been involved enough to handle. The case went to court, and I was asked to testify. I told the truth, that he had been absent for years, that Lena was the primary and consistent parent, and that my brother only reappeared after starting a new relationship and wanting to look like a family man. The judge ruled against him. He didn't lose all rights, but he didn't get the custody arrangement he wanted. Now my brother is furious with me. He says I should have lied, or at least kept my mouth shut because we're siblings. My mom agrees with him and keeps telling me I ruined his chance to start over and be a better father. She says family loyalty should come before outsiders, even when kids are involved. I don't feel guilty for telling the truth, especially when my nephew's stability was on the line. But being iced out by my mom and constantly attacked by my brother is wearing me down. So ITA for refusing to help my brother and testifying against him in court.
Partner 31M went back to sleep after I called an ambulance for myself, 30F. Last night, I experienced sudden pain in my shoulder blade that radiated to my neck, chest, and down my left arm. My fingers were tingling, and I had never felt anything like it before. I told my partner about the pain, and he tried to massage my arm and shoulder, but it didn't help. When we went to bed, the pain persisted. He told me to call an ambulance if it got worse, and then he fell asleep. Just 5 minutes later, the pain intensified, and I was terrified I might be having a heart attack. Alone in the living room, I waited for the ambulance for about 45 minutes, trying to wake him to let him know what was happening and to check on our 4-month-old baby. Despite my efforts, he didn't wake up. When I finally managed to rouse him, he asked if I was okay. I told him I had called for an ambulance and needed him to feed our baby if he woke up. He nodded but then went right back to sleep. I felt so alone, waiting in pain and worrying about how I would care for our baby if I ended up in the hospital. After an hour and a half, I decided to cancel the ambulance. If it were a heart attack, I thought, I would have been in worse shape by then. I returned to the bedroom, checked on our baby, and saw he was hungry. I made him a bottle and fed him while my partner lay sprawled in bed, snoring. I was furious at his indifference. What if I had been having a heart attack? I felt abandoned and questioned whether I wanted to stay in this relationship. I understand he's tired from working 6 days a week and is on antidepressants, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being alone in that moment. I went to an urgent care clinic today and thankfully it wasn't a heart attack. They believe it might be a pinched nerve or soft tissue inflammation. I've been referred to a physiotherapist. Afterward, I talked to my partner about what happened. He didn't remember me calling for the ambulance, but recalled when I said I had canceled it. He explained that he's a deep sleeper and can't help it. He thought I should have shown more urgency if I was truly concerned. He also mentioned that I should have explicitly told him what I needed during that time. When I asked how he would feel if he were in my situation, he said he wouldn't know because he's never experienced anything like it. I expressed that he lacked empathy, and he responded that my feelings were different from his perspective. In the end, he felt like no matter what he did, it wasn't good enough, and that I expected him to read my mind. It was a tough conversation, and I'm left wondering how we can bridge this gap in understanding.
How do I tell my partner that his hygiene is an issue? I've been dating this guy for 2 months, and every time we're intimate, I notice an unpleasant smell. It's been tough for me to address this directly. I tried to be subtle, suggesting we shower together, hoping to clean him up while we were having fun. But he only let me do it once. And when I tried again, he wouldn't let me touch him. I even watched him clean himself once and casually asked if he was doing it right. He insisted that his method was sufficient. I thought I could handle this without being upfront, but he started to notice. Recently, he asked why I always wanted to shower before we were intimate. I didn't have the courage to tell him the truth, so I just said it made me feel fresh. After one encounter, I ended up with a yeast infection, which made things even more complicated. We switched to using condoms, but the issue still lingers in my mind, making it hard for me to feel intimate. I've been wondering if it's worth it to continue this relationship. If I decide to break up, I wouldn't even know how to explain it. He's genuinely nice and struggles with depression, which makes me hesitant to hurt his feelings. I finally decided to reach out and explain everything. I didn't say it directly, but I mentioned the yeast infection and how I noticed he cleans differently than my previous partners. I told him I cared about him and that I needed to bring this up for our relationship to continue positively. He responded with a simple acknowledgement, and since then, we haven't talked. I'm not sure if he's offended or just processing everything. Honestly, I'm not too worried. If this changes how he treats me, it might just be the easiest breakup of my life. I appreciate all the support and advice I received. Some comments made me laugh, while others were kind and helpful. Thank you to everyone who shared their experiences. It really helped me navigate this difficult situation.